Brian Rolapp expected applause. Instead, Rory McIlroy's words detonated before his plan could breathe. The attack left Rolapp stunned. Then, as the first question landed, McIlroy effectively humiliates him in front of everyone in the room. Shouting never started. A confrontation was unnecessary. One brutal sentence turned Rolapp's proud announcement into an immediate public defense that day. The phrase was devastating. Glorified Corn Ferry event. Suddenly, the Challenger Series stopped sounding revolutionary. Its status looked diminished. Rolapp had arrived to sell the future of the PGA Tour. Now he had to explain why historic tournaments would not be buried beneath a polished new label. That was the real humiliation. McIlroy was not even standing beside him. Yet Rory controlled the conversation. His criticism exposed the fear Rolapp could not escape. Would this structure protect tradition or quietly strip famous events of prestige and relevance? Then came the twist nobody expected. McIlroy later supported major parts of the finalized model after speaking with Rolapp. Subscribe now for golf stories that expose what polished press conferences try to hide. Because Rory's attack was only the beginning, what Rolapp revealed next made this controversy far more dangerous for every tournament caught beneath it. Rolapp's answer exposed the fault line immediately. He insisted the Challenger Series would not resemble the Corn Ferry Tour because the entire PGA Tour was being reorganized, not divided into a major league and a developmental circuit. The tour currently stages about 47 events and serves roughly 230 players. Under the approved model, Rolapp said, those numbers would remain broadly similar. The difference would be the structure surrounding them. Fans would know which competition they were watching, sponsors would understand what they were buying, and players would see a defined route between levels. It sounded controlled. It was also defensive. That distinction matters because Rolapp had arrived at TPC River Highlands to reveal a project built around confidence. The Championship Series was presented as the home of the strongest players, the richest regular events, and the most valuable television windows. The Challenger Series was described as a competitive route for future stars and established professionals attempting to climb back. Yet the first question did not celebrate those ambitions. It asked why Rory McIlroy's insult was wrong. That was the moment the room turned against Rolapp's preferred script. McIlroy was absent, but his influence dominated the exchange. A phrase delivered 1 week earlier at Shinnecock Hills had survived every graphic talking point and carefully prepared explanation. Rolapp could outline the system. Rory had already named it. The difference between those two messages was brutal. Rolapp offered complexity. McIlroy supplied an image that every golf fan understood. One competition would contain the stars. The other would contain players hoping to join them. No amount of branding could completely hide that hierarchy, especially when the financial gap was so large. Championship Series events were announced with minimum purses of $20 million. Challenger Series tournaments would offer at least $4 million. Rolapp argued that different commercial value justified the difference. McIlroy's criticism suggested that the money itself revealed which tournaments truly mattered. That is why his remark carried more force than ordinary player frustration. Rory was not complaining about a single exemption, a missed invitation, or a personal scheduling dispute. He was questioning the identity of tournaments that have spent decades building history. His clearest example was the Canadian Open, an event he won in 2019 and 2022. He feared a national championship could be pushed into the lower series unless its sponsor produced the level of money required to compete for elite status. McIlroy did not claim that the Canadian Open had officially been assigned to the Challenger Series. No final placement had been announced. His warning was about what could happen once financial power, stronger fields, and television priority became concentrated inside the Championship Series. A famous name might remain on the calendar while the event behind it lost access to the players who drive attention. That possibility reached beyond Canada. Every traditional tournament without a $20 million purse suddenly had reason to study Rolapp's model carefully. A respected venue could remain familiar. Volunteers could still arrive. Local charities could still benefit. However, fans would notice if Championship Series members were generally barred from playing down. Rolapp confirmed that restriction. A player established in the top series would not be free to enter a challenger event simply because it was near his hometown, connected to a sponsor, or personally meaningful. The tour believed that separation was necessary to protect competitive integrity and give each tournament partner a dependable product. The trade-off was obvious. Some historic stops could lose the occasional appearance from a superstar who genuinely cared about them. That is where McIlroy's criticism became deeply uncomfortable. Rolapp wanted simplicity, scarcity, and stronger fields. Rory forced everyone to consider the cost before the applause began. The championship series will contain approximately 23 or 24 events from February through August. Regular tournaments are expected to average around 120 players, retain a 36-hole cut, and use traditional 72-hole stroke play. At least 90 players will keep their place for the following season. Those falling below the retention line face relegation. The Challenger Series will run at the same time with at least 20 events, fields reaching 144 players, and cuts after 2 rounds. Its leading 20 players will earn promotion through the season standings. A competitor who wins twice can move up immediately. Another last chance sequence is expected to distribute a limited number of championship places. On paper, that creates stakes golf has often struggled to communicate. A player near the bottom will have something serious to lose. Someone producing outstanding results below will have a visible reward. Fans will no longer need to decode a maze of categories simply to understand who owns secure status. Rolapp also promised more consistent points in the championship series. He argued that the current standings had become too complicated. The new system is intended to recognize a genuine regular season champion before a post-season conclusion. Match play is expected to form part of that ending, while the Tour Championship is planned to rotate among prominent venues rather than remaining tied permanently to one location. Those elements explain why many people inside the Tour view the overhaul as necessary. Golf competes against every major sport for broadcast money and attention. Viewers often complain that leading players do not appear together frequently enough outside the majors. Sponsors want predictable fields. Media partners want events with clear meaning. Rolapp's model tries to solve each problem through concentration. McIlroy's response challenged the assumption that concentration automatically improves the whole tour. A stronger top tier can create a weaker perception everywhere else. The championship series becomes valuable partly because access is limited. That same exclusivity tells viewers that the concurrent tournament lacks the best available field. Rolapp can describe both series as compelling, but the labels, purses, player restrictions, and promotion system all communicate rank. The incoming commissioner did not collapse under the question. He answered immediately. He mentioned his conversation with Rory earlier that day. He explained that recognizable venues, substantial purses, and familiar PGA Tour players would make the Challenger Series fundamentally different from the Korn Ferry Tour. Nothing in the public transcript shows him becoming speechless or losing control. Still, stunned captures the political surprise rather than a visible physical reaction. Rolapp's unveiling was instantly forced onto territory chosen by McIlroy. The first public test of his new system was not whether fans liked promotion. It was whether Rory had correctly exposed a second-class league. That is the humiliation contained inside the title. McIlroy did not stand across the room and attack him personally. His words did something more damaging. They made Rolapp defend the prestige of his own creation before he could fully establish it. Then the story changed. After speaking with Rolapp, McIlroy released a statement calling the approved announcement a positive step for professional golf. He welcomed the renewed emphasis on merit and expressed support for a structure designed around players and fans. He also praised cooperation between the PGA Tour and DP World Tour, especially the commitment to elevate historic international tournaments and national opens. That endorsement prevented the dispute from becoming a clean personal feud. Rory had not declared war on Rolapp. He had attacked a perceived weakness in an unfinished plan, received more information, and supported important parts of the final direction. There is no verified evidence that Rolapp demanded an apology, pressured him into the statement, or conducted an angry confrontation behind closed doors. The stakes also became personal for Rolapp because that same day confirmed his next promotion. He is scheduled to replace Jay Monahan as PGA Tour Commissioner in January 2027 after joining as chief executive in 2025. That succession means this structure will not be somebody else's experiment for him to inherit. It will become the defining project of his leadership. McIlroy's challenge, therefore, landed against more than a scheduling proposal. It struck the foundation of the legacy Rolapp is preparing to own almost from inception. The reversal did not erase McIlroy's original warning. His supportive language focused directly on the areas he had questioned. Meritocracy mattered. International competition mattered. National opens mattered. That alignment suggests the final presentation addressed concerns important to him, although nobody outside their private conversation can honestly claim Rory forced specific changes. Rolapp also left major questions unanswered. The tour had not finalized every eligibility category. Medical extensions, career accomplishments, tournament winner provisions, and pathways from other tours still required work. Challenger Series sponsor exemptions were unresolved at the announcement, while Monday qualifiers were expected below but not in the championship series. Officials said players would receive firm eligibility rules before the 2027 season began. Tournament placement remained sensitive. Rolapp declined to reveal the full schedule. He said several future championship markets were under consideration, and some sites had been identified internally. That uncertainty ensured McIlroy's warning would continue hanging over every event, awaiting a decision. The deeper danger emerged after the major season ended. McIlroy openly questioned why the first two FedEx Cup playoff events should command his concern when entering the Tour Championship inside the top 30 still gives every qualifier a chance. His schedule has become increasingly selective. He has said that family, personal balance, international golf, and maintaining enthusiasm now shape his decisions more than playing every possible PGA Tour stop. Those comments create a challenge much larger than one hostile press conference. Rolapp's entire model depends on leading players appearing together often enough to make the championship series feel essential. Yet those stars are independent contractors. The tour cannot simply order McIlroy to play every designated date. Rolapp acknowledged that members cannot compete each week and said the format was designed to allow absences without destroying a player's season. That flexibility sounds reasonable. It also exposes the central risk. The tour is rebuilding itself around star concentration at the same time one of its biggest stars is becoming more selective. McIlroy can endorse the concept while refusing to organize his life around it. He can support the tour's future and still skip events that do not excite him. For Rolapp, that tension is far more threatening than the Korn Ferry comparison. A $20 million purse cannot guarantee emotional investment. A new points table cannot manufacture tradition. Promotion creates stakes for players fighting upward, but fans may still judge an event by who appears on Thursday morning. If Rory, Scottie Scheffler, and other major attractions choose different rest weeks, the promise of repeated head-to-head competition becomes harder to fulfill. McIlroy understands that leverage. Years of defending the tour during the LIV conflict placed him close to its internal battles. He later stepped away from formal influence and repeatedly noted that he was no longer inside the decision-making rooms. That distance gave his Shinnecock comments extra bite. He was speaking as a star, assessing the product, not as an official. Required to sell it, Rolapp represents the opposite perspective. His background outside golf encourages him to treat the tour as a sports property competing in an unforgiving media market. Scarcity can raise value. Clear divisions can simplify storytelling. Promotion can make ordinary weeks matter. A recognizable postseason can attract viewers who currently disappear after the majors. Neither side is entirely wrong. The old PGA Tour gave more tournaments access to top players, yet it also produced uneven fields and complicated incentives. The new plan may create sharper competition, but it risks turning respected events into supporting content. McIlroy sees what could be lost. Rolapp sees what must change. Their disagreement revealed the argument golf will face before 2028. Supporters will call the Challenger Series an opportunity. Critics will describe it as relegation. Wearing an expensive jacket, Rolapp must prove that $4 million tournaments can retain identity while $20 million events occupy the main stage. The answer will not come from a press release. It will come from schedules, television audiences, sponsor commitments, player behavior, and the events selected for each series. Should a national open land below while a newer commercial tournament receives elite status, Rory's warning will return immediately. If promotion creates compelling stories and historic international stops gain stronger support, Rolapp will claim vindication. For now, McIlroy won the first battle of perception. His phrase became the question Rolapp had to answer in front of the room. The commissioner-in-waiting remained composed, but the launch no longer belonged entirely to him. That was the sting. Rory transformed a celebration into a defense without attending it. He exposed the weakness before the structure had a chance to prove its strength. Rolapp may eventually build the future he promised, yet McIlroy has already defined the test that could decide whether it succeeds. Can the PGA Tour create an elite championship without humiliating the tournaments left outside it? That question will follow Rolapp toward 2028. Every schedule announcement will sharpen it. Every superstar absence will feed it. Every historic event assigned to the Challenger Series will bring McIlroy's verdict back into the conversation. The room heard the insult once. Golf may keep hearing it for years. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and tell us whether Rory exposed a fatal flaw or unfairly dismissed a necessary revolution. The next decision from Rolapp could reshape which tournaments matter, which players remain visible, and what the PGA Tour becomes.